would you state your name and your DSC number for the record?
My name is Walter White, 131179.
Okay, Mr. White, you're before this panel to review parole violations. What I'm going to do today is read out some information. You are an 8th class offender and you were released on good time parole 3/3 of 2023. We have some conditions that we are going to read out, and then I'm going to ask you to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty or guilty with a statement. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Violation number 2. You have failed to submit a monthly report or report to your parole officer, therefore absconding supervision. How do you plead?
I'm guilty.
Number 4, you were arrested April 15th, 2024 for the battery of a dating partner. July 19th, you pled guilty to the amended charge of criminal mischief and was sentenced to 5 months in the Washita Parish Jail. How do you plead?
I plead guilty on that, but I need to make a statement.
Guilty with a statement, okay. Rule number 7, you were unavailable to your parole officer to truthfully and promptly answer questions when you absconded supervision.
Well, when I come from West Virginia, I went and reported to them.
Okay, so are you guilty of not being available to your parole officer?
Not guilty.
You're not guilty of being available to you. Okay. Number 9, you failed to allow visits at your home or place because you had absconded supervision.
Not guilty.
Number 10, your supervision fees are $693 in arrears.
I'm guilty. Guilty.
So you're said guilty on 2, guilty with statement on 4, and not guilty 7, 9, and 10 guilty. Okay. Would you please answer questions by Mr. Prater?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Mr. White, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing good, doing good. You pled guilty to a number of statements about absconding the jurisdiction and not being able to be found by your parole officer, and et cetera. And you pled guilty to it. Now you're pleading not guilty to it. Can you explain all that to me? I'm kind of having trouble. There's lots of words.
Yes, sir. Okay, at the time, I had got my parole transferred to West Virginia.
Right.
And I was up there, I was paying them, I had a job. Okay, and I got my parole transferred back to Louisiana.
Right.
And when I got it transferred back to Louisiana, I went and seen them. The first time you go see them.
Right.
I went and seen them, gave my address and everything.
Right.
I don't understand why he said that he couldn't get in contact with me, and he had my address and everything. I went there, the fingerprints and everything.
So, but aren't you supposed to check in with them?
I did check in with him.
I mean, more than just the first time when you got back out. And was that in 2023?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And since then, you hadn't talked to them?
No, sir.
Doesn't it seem a little strange? Aren't you supposed to get in touch with them?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't, did you?
Yes, sir.
No. Are you agreeing with me that you did not get in touch with your parole and probation officer?
I'm agreeing with you. I didn't get in contact with him.
Okay. And you pled guilty to criminal mischief. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You were charged with battery of a dating partner.
Yes, sir.
But you pled to criminal mischief without going over a lot of details there, which I don't really care about the details. I don't have much more. So when you're on parole, 2 of the big things are that you stay in touch where we know where you are all the time.
Yes.
And number 2 is you stay out of criminal activity. And you didn't do either. Is that correct?
On the battery of a dating partner?
Okay, forget the battery of a dating partner for just a minute.
Yes, sir.
You pled guilty to criminal mischief.
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, that's a violation of the law, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, So if you're not keeping in touch with your parole officer and you're violating the law still, why should we not revoke you?
No, I don't know, sir.
That's hard. That's okay. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Knudsen?
Mr. White,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, you're an eighth offender. You know how this works.
Yes, ma'am.
And so why don't you be honest with Mr. Prater and tell him why you really didn't report?
Now, I'm gonna be honest. I was on drugs.
Right.
I'm just being honest. I was on drugs at the time.
Yeah. That's probably
And
what landed you in
I
jail the
was-
first time, huh? Or the first 7 times.
Ma'am.
I just wanted to hear the truth from you. I already see it in the record. You were out drugging and
Yes,
maybe
ma'am, I
doing
was.
some burglaries to support the drug addiction, etc. So that's all the questions I have. Thank you, sir.
Do you have any other statements before we vote, Mr. White?
Yes, on this battle with dating partner. My mother and my cousin, they supposed to be here on the Zoom, but I guess they didn't show up. And this incident, it never really occurred. I went to work. My cousin had his own company, so I just got a job with him, and I've been driving trucks for him for 14 hours. So I got off of work. I went to my mother's house to lay down and give me some rest. And I had the door to my room open. And when I had the door to my room open, the girl that I used to talk to, she came in my mother's house without knocking anything, and started pulling me and kicking me, making me get out the bed to set up a phone.
Mr. White, that is only one of the incidences that we're trying to make a decision based on. So, you know, the details of that is not going to change the outcome of this hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Prater, are you prepared to vote?
I am. Mr. White, I vote that we revoke your parole. I don't think you've learned how to behave. And until you do, I think you're in exactly the right spot. So I vote to revoke you. Violations of rule number 2, 4, 7, 9, and 10 that you agreed to abide by, and you didn't.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Knudsen?
All right, Mr. White, I do agree. My vote is to revoke your parole, and I do hope, though, that you reach out and try to get some substance abuse treatment to help you with that addiction. I wish you well, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. White, my vote is also to revoke. We have plenty of evidence that you are violating your conditions. But is there any staff there in the room with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you identify yourself there? Who is the staff?
Good morning, this is Deputy Marchand.
Deputy Marchand, thank you so much for being with us. Would you note that we believe that this offender needs some substance abuse treatment? While he's being revoked, we hope that he's not just sitting there doing nothing, that he gets some substance abuse treatment.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. White, your parole has been revoked today.
Okay.
We also today, let's have your name and your DOC number first, if you don't mind.
Tewan Leonard, 583572.
Okay. Mr. Leonard, we're going to be dealing with some parole violations. Let me ask you, we're going to be reading some violations, Mr. Leonard, and we're going to ask you to enter a plea of guilty, not guilty, or guilty with a statement. Okay, if you need assistance from your attorneys at any time, let me know. So the first thing we have is that you violated parole condition number 4 on that June 18th, 2024. You were arrested by the East Bank Levy Police, who had been detailed to the FBI Violent Crime Task Force and charged with simple battering of a dating partner by strangulation, and unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, and simple criminal damage to property. Also, aggravated assault with a firearm, domestic abuse battery, simple battery, and theft. However, on August 13th, 2024. The charges were refused by the district attorney's office. I'm asking you to enter a plea of guilty, not guilty, or guilty with a statement to those violation accusations.
Not guilty.
Condition number 5, on 6/18, you were arrested. So it's the same information. So how do you plead on that one?
Not guilty.
And number 10, you're currently $1,822 in arrears of your supervision fees.
Guilty.
So, Mr. Leonard, I'm going to ask Ms. Renazza to go ahead and start the questioning at this time.
Okay, thank you. Tell us what happened, Mr. Leonard. You pled not guilty to both number 4 and 5. What happened during that incident?
It was just about more that I apologize for maybe responding differently towards the situation or arguments with my dating spouse, but it was a little over fabricated with the police reports about what took place. But other than that, I take responsibility. I could have responded better than I could have done things differently, but the police reports is just not accurate about exactly what took place.
What did take place?
It just was she's pregnant, and it was just a lot of emotions, or whether I was late coming home or if a missed phone call, any of those subjects.
So you were arrested because you were late coming home?
I had the attachments out, which I didn't even have the knowledge of knowing I had the attachments. I still was in compliance. I didn't even know I had any of those attachments.
So why did you have the attachments?
Disagreement with my dating spouse. An argument.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Tell me what happened during that argument.
It's like I didn't come home. She's have a little mental issue, and it's like any little thing takes her off, and she goes crazy.
Right. Did you take her car?
No, ma'am. We shared a vehicle. I tried to eliminate myself from the situation, and that part was about.
Well, let me ask you, when at the time of, let's see, this was based on her report to the police. There was risk questions that were asked of her. One was, do you think he will seriously injure or kill you, your children, or someone else close to you? What makes you think so, or what makes you think not? And the answer was yes, because he told me so. How frequently does he intimidate, threaten, or assault you? Often, very often. It's getting worse. Why would she say those things?
Because I'm a parolee, and the way of winning in the battle of argument or anything was me being incarcerated or finding a way to have me in jail. And that's why I sit today with the decisions from that.
She also said that you said if you called the police, you would kill her because she was trying to take away your freedom.
No, ma'am. I was also with her when I came to jail. I was still in a relationship. It's just a bit fabricated, and I'm sorry that we got this far.
And we are talking about Tori?
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's somewhere in here I read where 2020, well, that you were no longer in a relationship with her. You're saying you are?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is she today?
I'm not sure right now. Maybe work.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I've reviewed the record. I hear what you're saying, but I reviewed the police reports and her statement. So I just like to sit back and hear from my colleague and what your lawyers have to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Prater, do you have any questions?
I'd like to hear from the lawyers first to see what they say. Like us to be at the end.
Ms. Kearney, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to confirm, I spoke with Mr. Leonard's parole officer, and she said that she sent you a letter from Ms. Moore, and I just wanted to confirm that you received that.
We did.
Okay, So I will say that I have spoken with Moore several times now, and she has, as I think she stated in the letter to you all, she has said that she was she was very much struggling with her mental health at the time, that she was having some breaks in terms of her ability to understand what was real and what wasn't real. She was also concerned about her own ability to keep herself safe. She has since sought treatment and is thankfully in a much better place, both for herself and for her children. And she wanted me to express to all of you, as she did in the letter, that that the things that she shared with the police were not true, that Mr. Leonard did not put his hands on her, that they struggled with communication, which I think is what Mr. Leonard is saying as well, and that she was really having a difficult time during that period. So she has told me that the things that she said were not true. We also just would like to highlight, and Ms. Cunha can do this as well, how well Mr. Leonard did when he was out on parole before he was picked up on these charges. He was working for UPS. He was working with at Delgado and doing very well there. My understanding from his parole officer, I understand that he was behind in fines and fees, but other than that, they had a good working relationship. And Mr. Leonard has expressed to me that she was a source of support for him and was really helping him build his life back. We also received letters from his family, and so I'll just share that his brother has told us that that Mr. Leonard is really a pillar in their family. He especially helps with childcare for his niece and nephew, including taking care of them throughout the summer, and they would just ask that that he be given the chance to continue the work that he was doing when he was out on parole, which is building his life extensively in the way that we all hope that people will take that chance when they are given the chance on parole. I believe Mr. Leonard is an exemplary, example of that. I think that Ms. Moore deeply regrets what's happened here, as does Mr. Leonard. And I will say that in my experience with Mr. Leonard, I've known him now for several months. He has really reflected on this situation. And although, what is described in the police reports is not what happened, Mr. Leonard understands that there were different ways to handle the situation, that there was a conflict between them, and that that he should have walked away sooner, that there are many ways in which they could have communicated better to avoid this. And so I just believe that Mr. Leonard would continue all of the work that he was doing when he was out on parole, both in his education, his family, his work life. And as unfortunate as this experience was, I think he has really gained insight from it in terms of his interpersonal relationships and the way he communicates with the various people in his life. So I just want to pass it to Ms. Cunha to talk about, we do have a reentry plan for Mr. Leonard, and I'm just going to pass it to her to talk about that.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. I'm Catherine Cunha. I'm Tewan Leonard's client advocate at Orleans Public Defenders. I'm here today not only to express my support for Tewan, but to share with the board his plan to value any opportunity this board grants him for continued rehabilitation and successful reentry. So Tewan and I began working together while he was incarcerated at Orleans Justice Center. And frankly, it's been clear to me since my first meeting with him that he is a very kind, intelligent, and valuable human being. His growth thus far, his hope for his future, and his genuine commitment to positive and productive reentry is incredible, and it's inspiring. And through consistent communication with his mom and his friends, many of whom are watching today on YouTube, I've also seen firsthand the support that Tewan has in his life and the value and love that he has for his family and his community. His journey after incarceration, although flawed as life is for all of us, I believe is an example of what I hope many of my other clients can work towards as they face similar hardships and tests of faith. Tewan Tawan and I have developed a reentry plan, which has been provided to this board in writing, along with letters and photos from his family and friends. In short, the plan includes the support from his family and his community, stability in his housing, his education, his employment, and it also includes Tawan's enrollment in the first 72 plus rehabilitative reentry and peer mentorship program, which is in New Orleans. And there's also a letter provided to this board from them as well, confirming that. I say with complete honesty that I am confident in Tawan's character and his commitment to a positive future. And seeing his growth thus far has been, I think, a blessing to me, to his whole case team, to his family. And I hope that blessing continues on. I respectfully ask the parole board today to take this hope and Tawan's positive contributions to many lives into consideration as his case is further discerned upon today. And I would like to just now read a brief message from Natasha, Tawan's mom. She's currently with Tawan's uncle in the hospital right now, and she's unable to speak directly to you. My name is Natasha Leonard, the mother of Tewan Wade Leonard. Tewan was raised close with his siblings in a family of 5. He's a very smart young man with a heart of gold. He has a hand and a heart for drawing. He draws very good. When he was in high school, he was in the newspaper for having a 4.0 GPA. He's a great young man. He had a job with UPS, and now he's in jail, but can get the job back if he gets out. Also, he is enrolled in Delgado Community College. Tewan is also a great basketball player. He was also in talents class in school. I love and miss my son so much. I've been dealing with a lot. My brother's been in the hospital for 8 months. He had a heart transplant. He suffers from his kidney failure and his lungs collapsed. I need Tewan for support and to help my brother. I'm sorry I'm getting this letter so late. I've been in the hospital by my brother's bedside. So I thank the parole board for listening to me and to Kat, as well as Mr. Leonard today. And I thank you for your thoughtful consideration here.
Okay. Mr. Prater, do you have any further questions?
I'm confused. When was he paroled? In what year?
21.
In 21. And since this occurrence happened in 24, and when the officers were on the scene, the way I'm reading this, they found several, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 outstanding warrants for him that occurred after he had been out. And I'm curious about that. They're all 4 of them involved domestic violence with this same lady. Do you know anything about that? What's the situation with all those warrants?
Are you asking me, sir? I can.
Either the attorney, Ms. Attorney, or the offender. Yes. Can someone clear that up?
So as I said, I spoke with Ms. Moore about these various reports. I think unfortunately it is the same explanation for most of them, that Ms. Moore was dealing with some very significant mental health issues, which she has shared with you all through a letter through Mr. Leonard's parole officer. And I think honestly, it seemed that she was surprised to hear that there were this many warrants. I think she was not aware. I think she was not aware when she was making the reports. I think she wasn't aware later on that she had made so many reports. I think she was having gaps in memory. And so she was surprised to hear that there were so many warrants out for reports that she had made. So I wish I could offer more of an explanation than that, but that when I've spoken with Ms. Moore and what she has asked me to share with all of you and shared in her letter, I think she was very much struggling, and she does not, honestly, it seems like, remember a few of these police reports, and was surprised to hear that there were so many warrants out for Mr. Leonard.
This involves a firearm, aggravated assault with a firearm, battery of a dating officer, and they're on different dates. These are fine. We're talking at least 3, maybe 4 different things, plus some traffic warrants. Have those warrants been disposed of at this point?
Yes, sir. All of those cases have been refused. So the DA, he was arrested on each of those warrants. The DA, the district attorney in Orleans reviewed all of them and refused all of the charges.
And what started this incident, this latest incident, where Mr. Tewan, Mr. Leonard, were you in bed with another woman when she came home?
Yes, sir.
You were? Okay, that's what started the fight, correct?
Right, sir.
Okay, well, that could, so that part of the report is right and accurate that she told police, but the rest of it is not accurate, or none of these other things are accurate, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I can see why she'd be kind of upset, but of course, that doesn't give you a right to lie on anybody, no matter how upset you are. Why you're on parole? Why don't you stay away from this woman that keeps charging you with these false things?
Honestly, sir, it was a struggle with love, and I didn't honestly know she suffered with a mental health ability until I actually felt like it got a little too far. And I apologize for the lack of knowledge to knowing her mental health and allowing it to get that far, but I honestly didn't know it first. Like I wasn't even aware of the attachments at some point. Like I had to come to jail to realize I had those attachments because my parole officer also didn't get any notification of them.
This is a strange deal. I'd like to see those reports. And okay, I don't have any other questions.
In one of the arrests in January, it notes that the officer observed Ms. Moore had upper and lower lip was swollen, blood pockets in her mouth, bruising on the inside of her lips. And she was complaining of pain in her leg, back, and right side, consistent with the above mentioned attack. So at some point there was some kind of violence because she had known injuries. I did note that you did have one sanction previously for not reporting. So you may have been doing great in the last year, but the first 2 years was kind of rocky. You had problems with employment and stuff like that. Yeah, so it wasn't an easy beginning. Mr. Notza.
Yeah, let me just I have one more thing. The note that I read from Ms. Moore is dated August 23rd, and she ends it saying, "Me and Tewan are no longer in contact, and I have no plans on future contact with Tewan Leonard." So is that true or not?
What day was that, ma'am?
August 23rd, 2024.
We were still together, honestly.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
We were still together. That's who I was living with.
Why does she say she doesn't want to be in contact with you at all?
I'm not sure. She had her ups and downs spells with things. Like I wasn't even aware that part was said, honestly.
All right.
So I can one thing I can clarify is that they haven't had any contact since Mr. Leonard has been
He's in
incarcerated.
jail. Yeah, right. I understand that. Okay, thank you.
Was that part of your
Madam Chair?
Residence plan, though? What is your residence plan? Having him live with her?
No, ma'am. He'll be living with his mother.
Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Notza. I apologize.
Yes, I'd like at the appropriate time, I'll make a motion for executive session.
I think the time is now, so we've got a motion for an executive session. We are now prepared to vote. Mr. Notza is going to take the lead and vote first. Mr. Notza?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Leonard, I appreciate the work that the Public Defender's Office has done advocating on your behalf. However, as I'm reviewing, listened very carefully to everything everybody had to say and reviewed the reports very carefully. I want to note that the officer noted injuries, physical evidence that supported the allegations of the of the abuse. My vote today is going to be to revoke your parole based on preponderance of the evidence that I've seen in the record.
Mr. Prater.
I concur with that. I think he should be revoked due to continued criminal activity. It's apparent that something's going on with the injuries it's seen, and there was some truth to the report. So how do we know what's true and what's not true? Revoke.
I want to express my appreciation to the work for the attorney and the advocate. My vote is also to revoke. There's, to me, clear evidence that violations have been made to his parole conditions. So today, Mr. Leonard, your parole has been revoked. Thank you. I'm sharing today also virtually. I have Cheryl Winotza and Steve Prater. We are going to be reviewing some information, but would you please give us your name and your DOC number before we begin?
My name is Paul Eisenogle. My DOC is 410069.
So, Mr. Eisenogle, the matters before us today is that you have been accused of violating two conditions of parole, number 4 and number 13. I'm going to read those conditions, and then I'm going to ask you to provide a plea of guilty, not guilty, or guilty with a statement. Condition number 4 indicates that you engaged in criminal activity by altering the routing number on a check. The check amount was for $35,000 and dated August 23rd, 2024. How do you plead on that?
Well, plead not guilty.
Okay. And condition number 13, as a criteria condition for your parole, you were required to perform community service 4 hours a month, attend AA/NA meetings as directed by your PMP officer, and enroll in anger management. And you have not provided documentation. How do you plead?
I will plead not guilty.
Okay. We also have in attendance Mr. Andrew Hundley with the Louisiana Parole Project, and he would like to speak. So we will give him the opportunity to speak first before we begin our questioning.
Thank you for the opportunity to appear. I wanted to give some background on this because obviously from the records you have, we wouldn't be here if I would not have brought this matter up to the authorities. So the date that was mentioned, our organization had received notification from our bank that there was a check that was presented from Paul Eisenogle, the amount of $35,000. We have some controls on our bank account that this would have never gone through because of the controls that we have. But the immediate concern that I had, the information that I had, was this check was presented. This was obviously a fraudulent check. I informed probation and parole because I was concerned about the state of mind of the client may be to provide this check. So immediately, that was our first concern. After being able to do some, investigation and find out more about the situation, we learned a lot more. First and foremost, and I don't mean to speak negatively about Paul, but one of the surprises what we know about Paul was this seemed beyond his capacity to be able to produce a check that had our routing number at the bottom. Just he doesn't have the technical abilities to do something like this, so this was sort of surprising to us. We were able to get access to his telephone and go through it. Because after speaking to Paul, he admitted that he had been communicating with someone online for several months that he gave access to his bank account to, among other things. And what it appears to us after looking at the phone was that this third party had access, created this check, told him a story that they were going to transfer their business into his name. Just this really convoluted story that I think that the average person would not make sense. They sent him the check and told him, write this check to yourself, deposit it, bring it to your bank, the money is going to end up in your account. He believed it, he fell for it. And part of the reason that it was really easy for this to be tracked through our bank is because the bank we use for our account is the same bank that we open up our clients' accounts for. So it's the same account. So he walked in with this fraudulent check to the bank that we do business at and he has an account at. So I'm not here today to make excuses for Paul, but I wanted to clarify that when this first was brought to our attention, it appeared Paul concocted a scheme, which would not be very smart, but it appeared that he was trying to take money from us. What it appears now is that he very naively allowed someone else, a person who obviously wasn't who they said they were to him, that he had been communicating with for months. He allowed them access to his personal account. They produced this check, mailed it to him, had him fill it out, he deposited it, and it's where we're at today. As an organization, we did our due diligence by informing probation and parole of what happened. We completed a report with the proper authorities. It is not our intention to pursue charges against Mr. Eisenogle through the criminal legal system. We recognize that the parole board has their own decisions to make. In a perfect world, we would pursue charges against the person who catfished him and created this check, but there's no way for us to determine who that person is. I'm happy to answer any other questions related to that. As it relates to the charge on his AA volunteering and anger management, I obviously defer to the board and to the parole officer for whatever information they have. Just going over case notes that our staff social worker and case managers have in his record, we show that he informed us that he was attending AA meetings, and we show that our staff social worker had coordinated meetings with a counselor for anger management sessions. I can't confirm to you that he personally attended any of those. I can tell you that he told our staff he did. Just in conclusion, I would like to say that Paul has been employed by the same company for 11 months before he was revoked. That's Imperial Trading Company in Jefferson Parish. They've indicated that in a world that he's not revoked, that his job would be available to him, and they hired him back because he was a good employee. I'm not naive myself, and I understand that there's some sort of sanction at a minimum that Paul needs to face for his actions, whether that be work release or some other things. Just wanted to let the board know that outside of these incidents, we feel like Paul, from the standpoint of working and reacclimating into the community, has been doing a good job in meeting most of the expectations. Parole Project would be willing to still be there for Paul and provide any services that the board would see fit if the board determines not to revoke his parole. And I stand by to answer any questions that would be. Thank you.
Mr. Dotson, do you have any questions, Mr. Hunley, or of the offender?
No, I don't have any questions of Mr. Hunley.
And of the offender?
Yes. So, Mr. Eisenogle, had you ever met this person that coerced, as you claim, coerced you into doing this?
No, ma'am.
How did you communicate with them?
I have met her on social media. I first met her on TikTok, the app TikTok. Then our chat and conversation carried over to another app known as Telegram. And from there, our friendship blossomed into, I guess you could say, a relationship. But
And
I've never seen her before.
You had never seen her before?
But just on social media, just on the video she posted, that's all.
And how long did you, Mr. Hunley mentioned, but how long was this relationship?
7 to 8 months we have been speaking.
So what did she tell you that you gave her your personal information?
She told me, you know, she was a content creator. She was unhappy with her company, that she was going to leave her company, but for her to receive the money that they owed her, she would need my account information. That the only way for her to get money was to use my account. And I was foolish enough to actually give it to her. I believed in her and I trusted her.
Somebody you'd never met?
Yeah, somebody I've never met.
And so what were you thinking when you went? Did you go actually present this check to the bank to try to deposit it?
She was giving me directions. She told me to do it through an ATM deposit. So I did it through an ATM deposit on my lunch break at work.
It just makes no sense to me, Paul, that you didn't suspect that you were doing anything wrong.
When I did this, I had no idea. I'm thinking, you know, she hadn't lied to me. She hadn't done anything wrong until now. But I never suspected her of, you know, using me like this. You see what I'm saying?
No.
I
mean, I hear you, but no.
I never knew that, you know, this check was, I thought it was a good check. I believed every word she said. I did not know that it was going to be a bad check. Because I haven't seen checks in so long. I've never dealt with checks in so long. I figured it was a good one.
So when you're paid by your employer, they do a direct deposit?
Yes, ma'am, ADP. Now, here's the funny thing. I trusted her so much, even after I gave her my information, she never stole from me. She never got in my account.
I'd say she stole a lot from you.
I mean, she stole, but she never used my account to take my paycheck money.
Mm-hmm.
That was always in there. I guess you'd say that's one reason why I trusted her. That's why I did what I did, but, you know, I had no intention of doing it. I sure didn't expect the outcome.
So you were, let's see, you've been detained since August 28th?
August 26th.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, tell us about the community service. Why haven't you shown documentation that you've done or whatever, all the special conditions, the community service, the AA, anger management?
I have presented some documentation at the last minute to my case manager who worked for LPP that I had been doing AA. Anger management, there were some links on the phone. I had done a few sessions with Daryl Renfro, Renfro and Associates. I had tried to contact him again to get some more sessions scheduled, but he never contacted me back. As far as the community service, not doing it, you know, I have been incarcerated for so long. I'm so used to people helping me, you know, with things. I expected my parole officer would help me with the community service, but he never did. I never took the initiative, you know, to actually look for community service because I didn't know how to go about doing it. I was expecting help again to do it instead of taking the initiative to do it myself. Like I said, I'm so used to, like I said, I was incarcerated for 25 years. I'm used to people, you know, helping me, looking out for me, doing things for me.
Yep. All right. I'm gonna just sit back and listen.
Ma'am?
Ms. Ledoux, I have no other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Prater?
You gave yes, sir, you gave this lady you met on TikTok the routing number and the check number or whatever from Project Parole. She then sent you checks with that on your checks. Is that correct?
Here's the thing. I did not send her. I don't know how she got, and I don't know how she got my routing number and my account number. What I had given her was my username and my username and my password to my account. I never actually gave her my router number or my account number. I don't know how she got that.
Where did you get the check that was that you had?
She had, in one of my chats and one of my text orders, she had mentioned that I had some checks coming through the mail that were going to link up to her company's account. So I waited for them and I got them. And, you know, I told her I got them. That's when she had mentioned to me, you know, to write a check for so much, you know, go to the ATM and see what happened from there. The checks were delivered to me through the mail.
Okay.
But I knew nothing. I gave her no information as far as my routing number and my account number, just my username and my password to my account. And what
so all of a sudden these checks show up at your house, and so you write one for $35,000 to yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Intending to do what with that $35,000?
She told me in one of her texts to me that the money, she wanted me to send her some via not gift certificate, gift cards.
That's a typical scam deal, but okay.
Thank you.
I have no further questions. I think at this time the panel is prepared to vote. Ms. Renatza?
Yes, I am struggling with it a little bit because Mr. Eisenogle, I do believe that you had experienced some of this kind of scam activity in the past and you should have spotted it. But I do believe that you were taken advantage of. I don't believe that you had intent to defraud the parole project. I'll say that. I don't think I'm talking, listen, I'm not asking, I'm just saying that.
Okay.
But I do also believe that there needs to be consequences for your actions. I don't think revocation is quite the solution. And I don't know that sending you work release would be the solution because I believe you still have your job available at Imperial Trading.
Yes, ma'am.
But I do. So my vote is going to be: do not revoke, reprimand you, add special conditions. I think that you need to have and I don't really know what the class would be to help you identify these sorts of fraud attempts on you. You know, money management, whatever it is, I don't know. I'll leave that up to your parole officer.
Yes,
They'll
ma'am.
know where to send you. And you need to enroll and complete that class. I'm just one vote though, but that's how I vote.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ryder?
I'll concur with that. I'm at a loss. I don't know if there's some way we could cause you to stay off of social media.
You can, for a period of time, you can add that as a condition if you'd like.
Because that's incredibly stupid what you've done. You don't need to be talking to women on TikTok. All that's gonna do is get you in trouble. And so I don't know. Well, I vote not to revoke you, but to keep you off of social media for a year. A year.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now I'm serious. Hey, listen to me when I say this. I'm serious about this social media. You can't. I mean, you were supposed to prove that you were going to these meetings and you didn't prove it. Okay. If this social media deal, that's not. I'm just not bumping my gums. You understand that?
Yes, sir. I understand every word you're saying.
All right.
Full term date is 2038. Do you know
Yes,
that full term date?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm really struggling with this because I believe, contrary to what my colleagues, I believe there may have been some intent to fraud, maybe not the Parole Project, but that you may have known that this wasn't exactly kosher. You don't appear to be an intelligent individual. I will concur with my colleagues and trust their perception on this case and go along with the conditions that they've invoked. So today you have not been revoked. You have some special conditions, some type of class by your probation officer that will help you with media savvy when you are allowed to return to media, which will be in a year. Maybe some financial classes. But I'd like to also stipulate that you have a closer relationship with the Parole Project. If they are going to be providing services, then I'd like to see that happen on a more regular basis.
Yes, ma'am. I really could use their help and want their help. I think I've already let my caseworker know about that. I'm willing to accept any bit of help I can get at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, you've not been revoked today, and you have some special conditions. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Good afternoon. The Committee on Parole is reconvening. At time is 1:09 p.m. Would the offender please introduce yourself?
My name is Paul Eisenogle.
How you doing, Mr. Eisenogle?
Can you repeat that, sir?
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine, sir.
I was on your last parole panel. And,
I do remember you.
and give us your Department of Corrections ID.
410069.
And we've been before this, so you know the process. I'm going to read this to the record. Warden, make remarks. Then we're going to hear from your, and you have a guest at Dixie. Would you please introduce your guest?
My guest is my sister, Lisa Eisenogle,
Okay.
who agreed to take me in.
We granted you in February of last year, right?
Yes, sir.
And we basically said that you needed to complete 3 programs.
Yes, sir.
And you've completed all 3 of those programs. With the 3rd program, you didn't complete within a 9-month period. So therefore, we had to rescind that decision and give you a new hearing.
I'm fine with that.
So in between the time I signed the rescind order, you have completed the 3rd program. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. That would have been Thinking for a Change was the final class I was in.
And just tell us what 3 classes we asked you to complete.
The first one was the Nurturing Parenting. The second one was the Victim Impact. And the third was the Thinking for a Change.
Okay. And you completed all 3 of those programs. But it was ordered by the board, but you didn't do it in 9 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you had any disciplinary write-ups since the last hearing?
No, I haven't.
And by virtue of Mr. Huntley being present, we have a good transition plan with the Louisiana Parole Project. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. A few months ago, I had contacted my sister to ask Mr. Huntley for some help. And most recently, I've been accepted into their program. If I get granted parole again, I would go to Baton Rouge for a short term where they'd help me transition back into society. Counseling, classes, whatever I need.
And where's your permanent transition plan at?
That's going to be with my sister out in Kenner, Louisiana.
Okay.
Once I complete the program.
Juan Baker,
Yes, sir.
any comments or concerns since our last hearing?
No, sir. Hadn't been any changes except he completed those 3 classes.
Now, Mr. Huntley is present. Mr. Huntley, could you tell us briefly what his transition plan looks like?
Yes, sir. If this board grants Paul his release, he would first immediately release to Louisiana Parole Project, where he will take part in phase 1 of our residential reentry program in Baton Rouge. During that time, we will work with him on his transition with programming to help him with technological literacy, financial management, social norms, among other topics. Will ensure that he has services to ensure he has health insurance coverage, that he has his doctor appointments taken care of, and that he has a mental health and substance abuse evaluation and support from our staff social worker, and we'll work with him to ensure that he understands what next steps he needs to take. Most importantly, for a minimum of 1 year, even after he completes phase 1, he will receive case management services from one of our reentry specialists. Based on his institutional record, we have a high degree of confidence in Paul's success.
Thank you, Mr. Huntley. Mr. Eisenogle, since you have positive remarks by Warden Bickham, you have completed everything that the parole board has required of you before release. You have a permanent residency plan with your sister, Lisa Eisenogle, in Kenner, Louisiana. I'm going to grant your early release because you have fulfilled all requirements ordered by the board. You have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And you are to do community service 4 hours a month. And if NAAA is necessary, it will be directed by your parole officer. Do you understand the conditions?
Yes, sir, I do.
Ms. Wise?
It was a pleasure meeting you today, Paul. You worked hard. I see the family resemblance in you two. You're almost twins from this point.
Thank you.
I wish you well. My vote is to grant for the reasons already stated on the record. Best wishes to you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And my vote is the same. I concur with my colleague. My vote is to grant.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Mr. Eisenogle, this was not a regular parole hearing. This was a rescind, and you have done everything that we require of you. So your early release has been granted. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.